there, Postal here. So today we're taking out the P228. This was a request from a while ago, actually. Unfortunately, inconsistencies abound. I also got a request to play the Meteor, which I don't own. So I kind of thought it was nice to play the P228 because the P228 is really, in reality, it's the world's fattest Meteor. This is a Tier 9 British heavy fighter. On this map, we are going to be going to the mining facility to go mess with some bombers. You have 4 30mm cannons on the front of this. I like these 30mm cannons. They've got decent range. Better range than, I think, any other 30mm cannons in this kind of grouping. Standard 30 mils for like 262s. And Japanese planes typically are shorter range. There are like sniper single cannons, but as far as like consistent rapid fire 30mm cannons go, these got the range you want. And they got the damage you want too. So what do I do with this plane? Why do I actually enjoy this plane? Well, it is a heavy in all regards. There is nothing turny about it. You can see I feel like I'm in a school bus here. Man, they got this sector anyway, even with me coming over here. That's kind of disappointing. Let's go ahead and let's kill their ground attackers just out of spite. But honestly, that's what this plane does really well, is it kills high health pool planes pretty easily. These are tier 10 cannons. This plane, unfortunately, or rather, for better or for worse, is kind of, as far as its on-paper metrics are concerned, kind of a dud. It's the slowest of the tier 9 heavy fighters. It is... what am I going to do here? Let's get our rockets back here. It's terrible maneuverability even for a heavy fighter. But that being said, you want to use it towards its strengths, which are going for those heavy air targets. Oh, come on. There are no heavy air targets here, but these cannons actually can do really good work versus the ground. I want to at least get these 2 little sections knocked out before I leave, so that way my bombers or ground attackers will have less issues doing whatever they're trying to do. We'll do one more pass going the other direction. Oh, actually, there's a fighter. Cool. It's a Yak 19. So we can definitely use our airspeed here. Yeah, it's a Yak 19. He's got all the maneuverability in the world, but he just lost, you know, 90% of his health. Oh, am I going to get rockets to the face? Luckily not. Nice. So with 30mm cannons like that, you'll notice I started firing quite early. They're still, even though they're good 30mm cannons, as we just proved there, they still take a while to get to target. So planes here, you want to really be aiming far forward so that by the time the 30mm cannons shots get there, the other plane basically runs into them and regrets their life choices. So let's stay up high here. We want, although again, we're not the fastest plane in the world here, we definitely want to take advantage of our airspeed compared to a lot of these other planes. 262 might rocket me in the face here. Oh, never mind, he's going the other way. I'm an idiot. So I'm going to assume he's dead. He's dead, Jim. There we go. Cool. I mean, this wasn't where I wanted to go. Actually, I was going to go for that other bomber that was going towards the garrison, but I mean, I'm here now. So let's take advantage of it. Much like your tier 10 brethren. Seahawk, what are you doing up here, Seahawk? So let's go ahead and let's use our speed. Seahawk cannot turn around very well at this altitude. It's way too high for it. So we're gonna boost a little bit, get some distance between us and that Seahawk. We're gonna turn back around. Actually, looks like we're gonna go for this guy. There's a heavy fighter behind us. Anyway, much like the Javelin, this plane has a really good health pool. You've actually got more HP than Tier 10 heavy fighters. Think of it that way. The XF90 and the HG3 both have 700 HP. Base on this is 900, so you're already 200 HP above those planes. And so use this plane much like you would a Javelin. You know, slower, pudgier Javelin. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean, use your HP. It is a benefit of this plane. Don't be afraid to get stuck in behind bombers. Don't be afraid to zoom through and take a few hits from air defense aircraft, as long as you're just, you know, literally hitting and running. You've got the HP to take some hits and not worry about it too much, right? And so I use that. You have to leverage that, because if you're not leveraging that, then you are not using the full strengths of your aircraft. Got my rockets back if I need them, which I might. Are we gonna lose this freaking battle? How annoying is this gonna be?
Concentrating forces near the airfield. Receiving reports about rapidly deteriorating weather conditions. Support will be unable to reach you.
Fortunately, I think I could use like a bomber or ground attack wingman. Anybody know where I could find one of those? It's a joke. Well, the first part's not a joke. The finding a wingman who does well in bombers and ground attackers is a joke. Wow, this J7W1 is way too high for his own good. Thank you, come again. We need to get that sector like it's going out of style here. Come on, guys.
There's no way to break through here now. You're on your own.
Ankle down, we're definitely getting some mileage per hour. Like I said, we've got our rockets back, so let's go ahead and okay. Fairly confident that we can get this. It's not screwed up though, right? Oh, somebody died in the sector. Alrighty. Well, let's go kill some people in the sector then, shall we? Straight up, which is not necessarily recommended, but it's fitting our situation okay. Using pneumatic control assist right there, this is the one reason I hang on to it for this plane. Crap on a stick, come on. Thank you. Can we get this fighter before they win the game? Is he paying attention to me? Is the flak gonna kill me? Nice. Perfect. Hot freaking damn. Man, that feels good. Alright, so let's we're still down on points, but we should win this pretty handily now. Can we get ourselves a Seahawk kill? Doesn't look like it.
Victory is ours. We're waiting for your return.
Alright, and so we got ourselves a McCampbell, a McGuire, 20,000 personal points, first game of the day. Man, I need to just be recording my first battle of the day every time, because it's always usually really good, and then I'm like, alright, cool, now I'll record, and then, you know, then I putz around. Let's head on back. Alright, so we were able to get 16 kills there, 10,000 aerial damage, because we were able to you know, take down a couple bombers and that ground attacker. 20,000 personal points, not too shabby. And so I play this plane, I besides the fact that I did air to ground damage, this is exactly how I would play the Javelin, right? maintain your airspeed. Know that you're not going to be running away from the other heavy fighters at your tier, but know that you're faster than everything else, right? Maintain that airspeed. Utilize your hit points. Don't be afraid to take some hits because you've got the HP. Now that being said, let's not be stupid about it and just start, getting chunks of damage taken out of us. You want to use it wisely, meaning, zooming through enemy occupied sectors. Don't really worry about the air defense aircraft because they're going to have to peel off, right? They can't stick with you for the rest of their lives. And so don't fret about that. Do pay attention to the enemy aircraft in general because, a lot of those enemy aircraft will stick with you if you're not taking them down. And the other aspect of it is don't really be worried about sitting behind a bomber. If it's a specialized EF-131 or Su-10, okay, that's different, right? But if it's a bot, you'll be fine. If it's a Ju-287 or a Tu-12, even if it's specialized, you should be okay. Ju-287 can be questionable, but any tactics that you use to not take a lot of damage when you're fighting enemy bombers are obviously still going to be viable here, and you've got some more flexibility of having that additional HP. This plane can obviously do really, really well, right? It's just leveraging its strengths. I just put the rockets back on. I was testing out not having the rockets to see if I could get some extra speed. And it does give you extra speed, obviously. It puts you to the same airspeed as an HG-2. But that being said, you still get that's an HG-2 with 2 bombs and rockets, air-to-air rockets. So you're getting rid of your air-to-ground capabilities on a P228 just to get the same airspeed as a 262 HG-2. I tested it out. I wasn't really feeling it, and I'm so glad that I put the rockets back on. You get 16 rockets, right? Air-to-ground rockets here. If I did not have the air-to-ground rockets on the P228, we would have lost this battle for sure. We flipped that mining facility the first time because I was able to do air-to-ground damage, even though I did it poorly. We still were able to do it. The second go-around, when we were flipping the mining facility the second time, was much more accurate with my rockets and more efficient with them. But if I didn't have the rockets in either of those situations, we would have lost this match, right? And so the reload time isn't terrible. The overall ground damage with the rockets is really good. And so I recommend using the rockets, but you have to be using them. Much like your HP, you can't forget about it. It can't be the focus of your attack, right? It can't be, I'm going to do whatever I can to get these rockets off. But leverage the strength that you have in your air-to-ground capabilities in the 228, both with the rockets and if you need to knock out some tents with your cannons, to be the full package. If you're not doing that, then you might as well not be in a 228, right? You might as well be in various other planes that are available. And so use your HP, it's a strength. Use your air-to-ground rockets, their strength. If you're first getting this particular plane, I should word this better. If you are just purchasing this plane and trying to grind it, the first thing you need to do is get these 30mm cannons. These 20mm cannons at tier 9 are trash. They just are. They're just not enough for what you're doing. A lower tier, sure, fine. They're fine. But at tier 9 and tier 10 battles, you need extra oomph. You're going to go from 130 damage per second to this, 330 damage per second. With better range. Like, you're not sacrificing anything. Except for rate of fire, but who the hell cares? You're literally more than doubling your overall firepower. Plus getting more range. It's awesome. It's 100% worth it. The one thing I could say about this is, honestly, I'd recommend going down the Spitfire line, getting tier 10 there, and then going down the British heavy fighter line. Because once you've gotten the Swift, you earn the top cannons on this plane immediately. And you get them for free on the Swift. So if you've got that kind of time to leverage, go down the British light fighter line. Once you're at tier 10, then you can continue on and get these. If you're already at tier 8 on the British heavy line, or you've already purchased the 228 and you haven't done anything on the British fighter line, well then I guess you're just going to grind out with the crappy guns. But the first thing you need, more than the engines, more than the rockets, of course, is the cannons. You need the cannons. The plane is terrible without these 30mm cannons. Stop arguing with me and go get them. As far as the service is concerned, whoa. Specialization, please. There we go. As far as my setup is concerned, I have gone all in for airspeed on this plane. There's absolutely no maneuverability on the 228. It's kind of funny about the Javelin. You lose the rockets and bombs for that matter. Javelin has no air-to-ground capabilities at tier 10. But you actually gain a decent amount of maneuverability. And so on the Javelin, I think I've got one of my equipment items is for maneuverability and the rest is for speed. Just because it's really nice to be able to outmaneuver every other heavy plane that you're going to run into at that tier. And so I've leveraged that power, and I'm still ridiculously fast. This plane, you can't do that. Going anywhere with maneuverability is not going to help very much. Again, you're a Pudgy Meteor, and a Meteor is not a very maneuverable fighter. So, and this is just bigger and less maneuverable than that. So I've gone all in on my airspeed with the polished skin, the uprated engine, and the high-speed gas turbine. 30mm cannons at the higher tiers. I'm really enjoying using reinforced bulk carriers over the other items. As you can see, it didn't really have an issue with accuracy at all in this battle. And long gun barrels I don't find as effective on 30mm cannons of this kind of setup. What I do find effective is reinforced bulk carriers allows for you to extend your burst length. So what that allows me to do is, as you saw when I was attacking that 262, I can actually start firing just a little bit earlier to ensure that my accuracy is where I want it to be, and I can still hold down the trigger for as long as I want to. Well, as long as I normally would, because I've got a 15% buff to it. If I fully extend this out, it'll probably be about a 20% increase to the burst length. And so that just allows me to hold the trigger down a little bit longer, which can definitely save you in situations. And for the equipment on the cockpit, I've put the gyroscopic sight. Now you might say to yourself, well, you've got all this, HP that you're talking about. Why aren't we leveraging that by doing like cockpit armor and doing a survivability build? That will force you to always be using your HP. And I don't recommend just being a giant flying tank. You still want speed. You still want the things that make a heavy fighter, but you do want to leverage the HP. But not in the manner of when it comes to equipment, in my opinion. I'm trying to get as much speed as I can so I can get from sector to sector and, be effective at each sector. As far as my consumables are concerned, there's 2 items on here that I'm going to recommend most people don't use, but I'll explain why I do use them. I've used first aid package on here for my pilot. This plane very rarely catches on fire, and I'd rather have my pilot put in there so the accuracy is better. For airframe, I've got control assist. You saw that I used it once, and I typically use it once per battle to be able to just slightly outmaneuver a plane that I typically wouldn't be able to outmaneuver, like an HG2 or a F2H, something like that, if it's a bot. And so I'll use that just to get my maneuverability up just enough to get my guns on target and be done with my day. Most people, I think, would probably get more of a benefit from emergency control system, although you'll notice my wings and tail didn't really get knocked out this battle either. But that's why I use pneumatic control assist, is in a pinch, if I need that maneuverability, I can leverage it. Obviously, you're not going to use it to dogfight a yak or literally any fighter, and 90% of the multi-role fighters, but there are certain situations where the maneuverability is helpful. Another one is if I'm trying to run away from something like an FJ1 or an F86 or an 1101, those can keep up with me. A Swift. What I might do is, as I see, as I'm running away, and then I see that they are finally catching up, what I'll do is I'll do an up and over maneuver. I'll use pneumatic control assist to make it quicker, and if I'm going head on versus them, I've got a fairly good chance of actually killing them. Obviously, it takes some timing. It doesn't work every time. You gotta do it right. but it is something that I've been pretty darn effective at. So I'll use pneumatic control assist in that kind of situation if there's just a pain in the ass fighter or somebody like that that won't leave me alone and thinks that they can catch up to me. Because if I just let them stay behind me, obviously I'm going to die. Engine cooling is a must in my opinion on this plane. Really on any heavy fighter that you can mount it on. Not everyone, but most of them. Extra 10 seconds worth of boost. Just allows you to get up and go when you need to. Save it for try and get to another sector that needs to be captured. Or to get to that sector to try to defend it, or to catch up with an enemy who's trying to run away. Engine cooling is just so flexible on a plane like this. I use improved mixture control. I've had this conversation before. Most people, and I even recommend, are going to get more benefit from the manual engine restart if your engines get knocked out. I use the improved mixture control because it improves the cruise speed and the engine thrust. But I also know that I'm living on the edge with that. And, you know, I'm willing to deal with the repercussions of my decisions there. In my thought process is if I go fast enough, then I don't have to worry about my engines getting knocked out. Hopefully they'll never get knocked out because I'm going so fast. Whether or not that's true or not is up for debate. But this is my setup. And again, I recommend that you have the ability to put your engines back in. Last but not least, universal ammo, because I've got millions of credits lying around. And typically you're going to earn back the 10,000 that you spend on universal ammo. Just because any kind of improved benefit of your ammunition is certainly going to be a good thing. So there's my overall setup of the 228 and my recommendations. I do have, as far as my pilot is concerned, Marksman 2 on here. Again, that just kind of helps make sure the cannons are hitting as often as possible. These cannons do ridiculously good damage at a very good range. Getting them to actually hit the target is imperative to being effective, and so Marksman 2. And I've just got an extra point lying around, so I've gone ahead with Eagle-Eyed here. I will eventually be pushing, probably with my next point, I'll actually get Aerodynamics Expert, since it improves the equipment by 40% when it comes to maneuverability and speed. So all that speed equipment will be further boosted. And then we'll see where I go from there. That's going to be obviously a little while before I get to that point. But yeah, a pretty enjoyable plane if it's played in a manner that leverages its strengths. Don't put it in a position that it's a unique heavy fighter, right? Don't put it in a position assuming that it can do things like an F2H can do. It does not have that maneuverability. Leverage the HP and the ground attack ability and those heavy hitting sweet cannons. Anyway, I hope this helps for anybody that's going down the British heavy fighter line. It's one of my favorite lines in the game. Although this plane is pretty unique on the line comparatively to the other planes that you'll be going down. So I hope it helped, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.